Hi, thanks for coming. We are having a presentation today on treating invasive species. So let's just jump right in. Treating invasives. All right, the first step is to learn how to identify the plant. There are obviously a lot of invasive species depending upon where you're at. This one is a bittersweet. There is a native bittersweet in Minnesota, and then there is one that is invasive, and this is the invasive. So if you want to learn how to identify this plant, you would look at the shape of the leaf. It's actually kind of vine-like. If you know about bittersweet, it is kind of a vine. It crawls up other plants, but it doesn't have to. It can also be on the ground too. Um, but it is a crawler. You've got leaf shape. You can look at how they are situated on the stem. You also want to look at the fruits, the fruit colors specifically. The native ones are American bittersweet, and have red fruits, and these ones are the invasive, and they have the orange fruits. So they also might have the fruits in different groupings depending on the plant. So that is also something you would want to look at to learn how to identify it. If you are able to find one, you might be able to share a sample or have a sample of the plant so you can do a side-by-side comparison. Sometimes it is hard to tell, and sometimes you might end up treating the wrong plants, and that does happen sometimes. It's a big woods. But that is what you would want to do first. Figure out what the plant is, what you're looking for, and then you want to find the plant. So I made a nice, cute little diagram because I didn't have a photograph for this. Um, the X's are your team, it's your people, and you are navigating the woods, which are the trees, and you're trying to find the plants. And so you would space out, you would all have your chem, you would space out and you would start walking. You would want to keep this line formation throughout. This is also something that you would do if you're in doing firefighting as well, looking for smokes. So this is a common configuration for naturalist work. Having this line of peoples, keeping just within like an arm's length reach so no one gets too far ahead. That would goof up your configuration. You might start to kind of go in the wrong direction if you're too far ahead, too far behind. So if you have your peers right next to you, you know exactly where they are, you know exactly where you are. And so therefore, you know exactly what land has already been searched for what you're looking for. This is also used in emergency situations. If say someone went missing, you might do this in the woods if you were searching for a missing person. Now, granted, I have not had that training or been a part of a team that has done that, but I have seen it on through social mediums and in the news. So I am extrapolating that, and I hope that it's a fair extrapolation. But this is kind of the configuration. You would all move forward and cover the ground that you would predetermine. And then as you got to the edge of the woods, you would have your end person stay still, and everyone would line up again directly to the next side and just go down the line. So this person then becomes this person, and then everybody lines up again for the next stretch of land. And then you actually go back the way that you came. And so that way you cover all the land that you need to. So you find the plant, you search it out, and you cut the plant down at the root. You can see this is in the snow, this is in the winter. You can do it any season, whatever seems appropriate for the plant. For identification reasons, this is actually a buckthorn tree, and so you can actually identify it based on the berries of the female plant as well as the bark. So you don't necessarily need the leaves in order to identify buckthorn. Especially it is invasive, so it's very you can have a bunch of them right next to each other, and so that makes it easier too, because that's buckthorn, that's buckthorn, that's buckthorn, that's buckthorn, and that makes it easier to just take them out kind of one at a time. But that's what you do. This actually is giving you a spoiler for the next step. You can see some blue there. You would then apply chemical to stop future growth. And that has been applied. They actually used foam paintbrushes for these plants, and they just added the chemical to the very outer layer where it can be absorbed into the living plant, and it'll go down into the root systems and it will kill off the entirety of the plant. But you can use a foam paintbrush. You also can use a little hand canister like this. And you can also use a dauber. This is something like a bingo dauber that's got a cap, so it might arguably be better than like a paintbrush that doesn't have any sort of protective or way to, protection around the foam bit or the bristles. And then it would be potentially messier or harder to tuck away and then take back out as you're walking. Then you also have your backpack sprayer. And that is nice because it has a nozzle up here that can um, kind of disperse the chemical if you want it to be in more of an ovular or well, maybe not ovular, but like a wider surface area, a circle, or you can also adjust it and it can be like a laser point to um, if you want direct application there. So you have options. This one um, carries more chemical and it might get a little bit heavy, but it also has the backpack straps. The canister might be kind of awkward to hold after a while. It can also have a strap, so you can have it on your person on one arm, and then you can swap back and forth between arms. And it can also get heavy, but perhaps less heavy than like the backpack sprayer. So you would apply the chemical along the outside of the uh, plant for that living layer so that it gets taken down into the vascular system and then it kills off the rest of the plant. For like a bittersweet like this, it's a very, very skinny plant. And so um, you can do like a foliar spray. That's what it's called when you just spray the leaves. It's a foliar spray. Or you can trim the base and you can use a dauber and then that would also work too. So you can do it a number of different ways and see kind of what works out. Um, then you would want to document the treatment that you gave. And it depends on if you are with an organization, they might have something that they always use. Otherwise, there are apps too that say this is an invasive species. Normally, um, they kind of take care of the treatment of that. So, but it depends on, who you are, where you're at, and what kind of technology you've got available to you. But uh, you would document it. You always document chemical usage just because chemicals can be a hazard, a health hazard and an environmental hazard. And so you would say, we used this many gallons of this chemical to eradicate this invasive species. And that report does go up, up the chain of command and it can be documented in case there are further questions later in like a forested area. If something goes wrong, you have that documented for liability reasons and for scientific reasons also. So you do want to document what you use and where you use it. Then you pack up and you clean up as needed. Chemical is difficult because cleaning it up may be difficult. You can't pour it just anywhere. You can't clean things just anywhere. You'd want to dilute any chemical. If you do spill it in the natural environment, you'd want to put, an exceptional amount of water to kind of reduce efficacy of it if you don't want to kill whatever it happens to be. Uh, on, but it can be a complex process. But you would clean up as needed, and you may also collect the seeds to stop further growth. A lot of the plants will have a lot of seeds like this bittersweet. You can see just a whole bunch of them, and so you can treat them. You can chemically treat them, but all of these seeds are going to end up on that ground, and that means next season you're going to have a lot more bittersweet. And that's just how it goes. So you want to collect those seeds specifically to control that invasive species. It's the management side of it. You want to make sure that it does not come back. And so you take those seeds and you can burn them, you can save them and use them for educational reasons. Um, but you do need to be mindful about that and make your choices wisely about that. I know I was a part of a team that did some buckthorn removal, and we took down a bunch of trees. It was a whole, like essentially a whole forest of buckthorn, and but it felt good. We applied the chemicals, and the next year, you you could see when we were cutting them down all of the berries that had become dislodged from all these trees that we had taken down. And so the next year, once the snow cleared up, you could see the little babies already starting the little buckthorns. And so they ended up going back and doing a foliar spray after the original cut and treat. So that way, they had a better shot at stopping it in one season, in that one go, because the seeds had been left and they started to grow. So it is a process, and you would want to check that site for for years to come just to see, did any of the seeds come back? Did any of the seeds come back? Otherwise, you're going to have that plant again pretty quick. So. Um, and that's also why you document. You can say what year you chemmed also, so that way you can do like the 7 years, and if it's eradicated, congrats, you actually eradicated the invasive, and you have that documented. Are there any questions?